After 25 years of loyalty, I was told I was no longer needed. My life's work, the database I had built from scratch and maintained for decades, had apparently been outshined by a shiny new AI system. At my farewell lunch, the new CEO, a man who had only been with the company for a few months, raised a glass and announced with a smug grin that technology was the future. He said it as if I were some relic, an outdated machine that had to be tossed aside. I smiled politely, nodded, thanked everyone for their kind words, and walked away in silence. Inside, though, my chest felt hollow. My heart pounded in disbelief. 25 years of sweat, countless late nights, endless weekends sacrificed, and I was nothing more than a footnote in a speech about progress. I remember gripping the steering wheel as I drove home, my knuckles turning white. My mind replayed every moment I had given my all, when servers went down in the middle of the night and I drove across town to fix them, when I slept in the office just to make sure deadlines were met, when I trained every new intern patiently. And now, they had replaced me with a program I had no part in creating. That night, I sat in my study staring at the files on my computer, the old scripts, the architecture designs, the layers of interconnected systems I had carefully built. My work was the skeleton of that company, the blood that kept its heart beating. But they thought an AI could just pick up where I left off. I almost laughed. For 2 weeks, I lived quietly. I tended my garden, had long breakfasts, tried to rediscover what life was without constant deadlines. Yet beneath the calm surface, there was a storm. I waited, because I knew the day would come. Systems like the one I built aren't plug and play. They are living, breathing things, each corner tied to the quirks of the people who made them. I had woven that system with knowledge no manual could ever capture. And then, it began. The first call came one morning as I was drinking my coffee. I let it ring. The second came an hour later, then the third. By noon, I had voicemails stacked up. The panic in their voices was unmistakable. The AI wasn't working the way it was supposed to. Reports were failing, backups weren't syncing, and clients were already complaining. I leaned back in my chair, sipping my coffee slowly, savoring every second. This was the moment I had imagined during that humiliating farewell lunch. The next day, the calls grew desperate. The CEO himself called 3 times, his tone switching from commanding to pleading. He left a message that still makes me chuckle to this day. He said, "We underestimated some of the system dependencies. We really need your help getting things back on track." Dependencies. That was his word for the thousands of hours of undocumented logic I had buried in that database, logic only I truly understood. At first, I considered ignoring them entirely, letting them burn, but then another thought crept into my mind. No, this could be sweeter. They wanted me back. They needed me. And this time, I wasn't going to be the loyal employee who gave them everything for free. If they wanted me, they would have to crawl. So I picked up the phone after days of silence. My voice was calm, even, almost cheerful. "Oh, hello. I've seen your messages," I said. The CEO nearly exploded with relief on the other end, talking over himself about system failures and client threats. I listened quietly, then paused for a moment before replying, "That's unfortunate. But I'm retired now, remember." The silence that followed was delicious. He stumbled over his words, trying to convince me. He said the company couldn't function without me, that they'd be willing to bring me back as a consultant. I let him squirm before I asked the question I had been waiting to ask, and what would that pay look like? For the first time in 25 years, the power was in my hands. I named a price triple what I had ever earned there, plus bonuses for every week the system was back in working order. I thought he might choke on the other end of the line. But desperation makes even the proudest men humble. He agreed. The next morning, I walked back into that office. People's eyes lit up when they saw me, the same people who had clapped politely at my farewell just weeks earlier. Some of them looked embarrassed. Others just looked relieved. The CEO shook my hand with the grip of a drowning man clutching a life raft. And in that moment, I didn't feel bitterness. I felt triumph. I fixed their problems, of course. But I did it slowly, deliberately, making sure every hour counted. I documented nothing, leaving no trail behind. They had made it clear what I was worth by replacing me with a machine, and now I was making it clear what my worth truly was. Every invoice I sent was another reminder that loyalty should never be taken for granted. Months later, when the system was stable again, I stepped away for good. This time, not because they pushed me out, but because I chose to walk away. I had secured enough money to enjoy a comfortable life, and I had taught them a lesson they would never forget. The CEO never mentioned, technology is the future, again in my presence. Sometimes, revenge isn't loud. It doesn't have to be dramatic or explosive. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is simply watching those who disrespected you realize just how wrong they were. I didn't yell, I didn't argue, I didn't fight. I just waited. And in the end, they came crawling back to the man they thought was obsolete. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever been tossed aside like you didn't matter, let this be your reminder: never let someone else decide your worth. Karma has its way of coming full circle. And if this story gave you even a fraction of the satisfaction it gave me, make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment with the best revenge story you've ever seen, and subscribe for more tales of justice served. Because sometimes, the people who think they've won are just setting themselves up for the sweetest loss of all.